Hi, my name's Dean Cummings. I've somehow got myself involved and uncovered a situation of pretty incredible people that are taking advantage of others to make millions and billions of dollars. It's in a pretty horrible situation where it's a corporate takeover, project takeover, estate takeover, massive mortgage scheme, identity theft mortgages. Construction loans, life insurance loans. Let's see, identity theft, medical insurance claims, Indian cashier's check that you can then turn into cash for a cash in, cash out pyramid pool investment scheme. Pretty ridiculous. So as I started working on this and researching this, so many people, it wasn't what happened, it's how they reacted. And I started looking around the community of Valdez alone. And the fuel delivery guy walks up to me and tells me, hey, I have some issues or some things I need to share with you. I was delivering fuel for North Pacific Fuel for a guy named Bob Bijot and a guy named John Anderson. And they were telling me to go deliver fuel to people's homes, literally only delivering somewhere between 30 to 50 to 60 gallons at a time. This is unheard of. Even the liability alone of somebody dragging a hose from the fuel truck into these people's yard in the snow and the ice wouldn't justify that. And the customer doesn't want to be paying bills so often. So generally they deliver fuel every 2 to 3 weeks. People run 500 gallon to 300 gallon tanks in their front yard. Don't ask me how this still works, but the entire town is basically still running on heating oil, which is Jet A fuel. So I started looking around and I started realizing, wow, why are these houses sitting around empty for 2 to 4 years in a town of 3,800 people with these incredibly high paying oil jobs? You can sell a home in Valdez, Alaska in like 3 days. You go to the health food store and say it's for sale, and somebody's literally saying, please hold that house for me. These houses were sitting around for 2 to 4 years and they were getting mortgages pulled on them and also allowing the pipes to freeze solid. So these homes would get damaged by the elements. The roof would get damaged by snow or snow load, and the pipes would freeze solid. So you'd have damage with the drywall, damage with the carpets and floors. And then Mike Hamilton, Dan Vandermeulen, Randy Bell, and other contractors in town, some of them were my employees, Mike Hamilton, Dan Vandermeulen, became contractors to fix these homes up. So basically these houses sit around, and the bankers with the realtors, this would be Sound Realty and Hirsch Realty. I think Sound Realty is Alice McDonald and her son Kyle McDonald and Brian McDonald. And I think Mr. McDonald, Brian's father, did some of these construction projects too. And the other one is Hirsch Realty. And this is basically Sonia Hirsch, a girl, Sonia Sodergren Hirsch, who works at the First National Bank, Alaska Bank. Basically, it appears they murdered their mother, who used to run the realty firm. Her name was Diane Hirsch. She literally wrote about it on her Facebook post, thinking she was toxified by oven spray. And she spent 2 years documenting everything that happened on social media, Facebook. The last week of her life, she literally had catastrophic hemorrhaging of almost all of her organs. And rumor has it, or I was told by a police officer, that she was upstairs. This is the last week of her life. She's upstairs, bouncing off all the walls, leaving blood trails on every wall, and then fell over the banister. And literally when she hit, she exploded. She literally, blood went everywhere. It was catastrophic hemorrhaging of all of her organs. She was on top of it. She was a smart lady, and she was literally documenting and sharing it on social media exactly what her blood counts were, what her bone marrow test results were. But the whole time she thought it was based on an oven spray exposure. Well, we found now that that's not the case in Valdez, Alaska. There's a ton of people that have died of cancers or are dying of cancer. Many of them died of cancers in like less than 4 to 6 months. The one thing they all have in common is the houses sat around in Valdez empty, not being put on the realty market when there's not enough homes in this town for everybody. And they were pulling mortgages on them through First National Bank Alaska with William Stark and Sonia Hirsch and Wells Fargo. And the girl's name, I think her name was Joanna. She was from Jamaica. She was on a J1 visa from Jamaica not more or less than 5 years ago. She was stocking shelves at the grocery store and running a cash register. The next thing you know, she's the bank manager. When I asked her for some mortgages, she told me that there were no mortgages under my name, and spent an hour on her computer looking and said there weren't any. We've now found 2 mortgages that did exist while she was looking. She's our understanding, rumor has it, she fled town. Either that or she got picked up by the feds, and they're grilling her. But here's what happened in Valdez, Alaska. We started looking around at the people that had died, and I started going backward because I'd been looking for homes. I've been in Valdez 24 years. I've been looking for homes over the last, say, 15 years, looking for that right home. And I went to many homes that literally are the perfect example. So what they do is they let this house sit empty. They steal mortgages on the home, and then they let the elements, the weather, destroy the home. The bank and the realtor turns the heat off. They let the pipes freeze solid, and then they go in and they get a double dip loan, and they get a construction loan, larger than necessary loan, to fix up the frozen pipes, the drywall, the floors, the roof damage from the snow load. And then they invest the rest into a pyramid pool investment group. So here's what we found is the delivery guy that worked for Harbor Fuel was told by Bob Bijot and John Anderson to deliver fuel to certain homes. And the reason I caught on to it is because we found that my fuel was tainted and had something in it that was making people sick. And I had one of the delivery guys from the competitor company, which is Crowley Marine, come over and check my fuel tank. And he took a sniff of my tank and literally stumbled backward. This is Jet A. Jet A is basically a kerosene. It's not a very toxic smelling fuel. In this case, my fuel had some sort of smell. Many people have contributed or have suggested that it's a methyl chloride of some kind, or a methyl ether, I think is what another guy was saying. Basically, what happens if you burn it through your furnace, every house has a furnace, forced air furnace, it doesn't burn cleanly in the burner. And so residual fumes actually come off of and out of into the forced air units, and also just out of the furnace cabinet. So this is pretty humbling. Over the years, I'll just start from the first page. This was the delivery guy telling me he was delivering fuel to these certain houses, only 30 to 60 gallons at a time, and it was making him incredibly sick. He actually was caught about to commit suicide by his brother, and his only explanation was he believed his job was too stressful and it was affecting him mentally. Well, obviously, if you're inhaling tainted fuel that's got toxins in it, that's what's going to happen. He went to work the next day after his brother saved him from pulling the trigger. He was literally in his bedroom with